Chosen one, this message didn't find you by accident. God led you here on purpose. You've been praying for clarity. You've been wondering how you're going to sustain this calling, how you're going to fund the vision, how you'll step into the next chapter without going back to what God told you to leave. And here's the answer. God is funding you in a way that will confuse the world. People around you may not see how it's happening. They won't understand how you're moving without a sponsor, building without a loan, and rising without compromise. But that's because God's hand is on you. And when heaven is your provider, earthly systems don't get a vote. This is not just about money. This is about divine provision, supernatural supply, and destiny-level funding that comes from another realm. Let's break this message down into 7 chapters for deeper understanding. Before we dive deep, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because this message isn't just content, it's divine confirmation. If you've been wondering how you're still standing, still building, still moving, this is heaven's answer. Chosen one, the way God is funding you will confuse the world. If your spirit resonates with this frequency, type 77 in the comments right now. That number isn't random. It's a sacred code, a prophetic signal to the Most High and the unseen realm that you're aligned, awakened, and ready to walk in the kind of provision that makes no earthly sense. Not everyone will finish this message. Only those who've been spiritually set apart, those who stay until the end, will gain clarity, unlock hidden insight, and activate divine awareness about the supernatural system that's sustaining them. This isn't a one-time message. It's a living revelation that will reveal more each time you return. Rewatch it whenever your spirit needs confirmation, because every listen will uncover a new layer of truth, a divine strategy, and a reminder that you're funded by a realm they can't see. Let's dive into it. Chapter 1. God interrupted your strategy to activate His supply. Chosen one, everything you're experiencing right now is not random. The closed doors, the quiet seasons, the unexpected detours, none of it is by chance. What you thought was a setback is actually a divine setup. What felt like things falling apart is God letting the old fall away so the new can rise. If you've been asking why your plans aren't working anymore, why the methods that used to get results are no longer bearing fruit, why it feels like everything you built is crumbling beneath your feet, this is the answer. God interrupted your strategy to activate His supply. You were moving according to what made sense. You had a plan. You followed the steps. You were relying on systems, logic, and your own strength to make things happen. But God saw something you couldn't see. He saw that your plan could only take you so far. He saw that the direction you were going would eventually limit your calling. So He stepped in, not to stop your progress, but to protect your purpose. He had to shut it down to open you up. He had to break your routine to reveal a greater rhythm. He had to allow certain things to dry up so you could stop depending on earthly supply and start tapping into supernatural provision. The truth is, you were never meant to survive by hustle alone. You were never created to rely fully on your own effort. That was only meant to carry you through a season, but not into your next level. God is now shifting you into divine flow, and divine flow doesn't follow the rules of this world. In divine flow, what used to take years will begin to happen in months. What you used to chase will begin to chase you. What felt heavy before will begin to feel light, because grace is now leading the way. God is teaching you a new economy, one where favor outruns finances, where obedience opens doors no degree or connection ever could, where your yes to God carries more weight than your resume or reputation. You are being pulled out of the world's system and into heaven's supply chain. And it may feel uncomfortable at first. You may feel like you're walking in the dark. But this is what it means to walk by faith and not by sight. You're not supposed to see the full staircase. Just take the next step He shows you. Chosen one, some of the people and places you depended on were never meant to stay. Some of the relationships that dropped off were part of the pruning, not the punishment. Some of the opportunities that fell through were actually divine redirections. God was making space because He's about to do something that your strategy couldn't make happen. You didn't fail. You were freed. You didn't lose your way. You were rerouted. You're not behind schedule. You're actually ahead in the spirit, even if it doesn't look like it on paper. People might not understand why you stopped showing up the way you used to. They might question your decisions, your pace, or your silence. But what they don't know is that you're under divine instruction now. You're not chasing the next thing. You're being led by the right thing. And that's why the supply is coming. This chapter of your life is going to look different. You won't have to force anything. You won't have to beg for support or manipulate your way through doors. You're going to see what it looks like when God provides, when He funds what He birthed, when He blesses what He instructed. And that's why He interrupted your old way of doing things, because the new way comes with heaven's full backing. Chapter 2. Heaven is backing what God planted in you. Chosen one. You need to understand something foundational to your journey. You're not out here doing random work. You're not just chasing a dream, building a brand, or pursuing a passion. You're walking out an assignment straight from heaven. You were chosen for something specific, something sacred. And because of that, you are not moving alone. You are moving with divine backing. This is why, even when you don't have all the money, all the support, or all the answers, things still find a way to move forward. That's not luck. That's not coincidence. That's divine endorsement. When something is birthed by God, it carries the weight of His authority. When He authors it, He funds it. When He speaks it, He sends provision for it. You may be looking at your hands and thinking, I don't have enough. But what you do have is the instruction. You have the vision. You have the call. And that's more than enough for heaven to work with. You see, God doesn't need a perfect setup. He just needs your yes. Your obedience is the access point for supernatural assistance. Heaven doesn't invest in just anything. Heaven funds what aligns with the will of God. And since this mission inside of you was planted by Him, the full weight of heaven is standing behind you, even if you don't see it yet. When God plants a vision in a chosen one, He assigns resources to support it. But here's the key. Those resources don't always come from the places you expect. They don't always show up through your job, your bank account, or the people around you. God moves through alignment, not familiarity. He funds through people you've never met, people whose hearts are stirred by your presence, your work, your energy, even before you speak. He releases resources from channels you didn't ask for, inheritances, random deposits, opportunities you never applied for. He shifts the hearts of kings and gatekeepers to favor you. He opens doors that you never had the credentials for and puts your name in rooms you've never stepped into. You're not behind. You're not overlooked. You're not forgotten. You're just walking in a different rhythm, one where faith leads and provision follows. Chosen one, sometimes the resources won't appear until you take the step. That's why it feels like you're moving in mystery. That's why you feel like you're building with invisible tools. God is teaching you that his supply is released by movement, not comfort. He's testing whether you trust his voice more than your eyes. He's watching to see if you'll walk with nothing but a word. And when you do, that's when the backing shows up. That's when the doors swing open. That's when the strangers become supporters. That's when the favor overtakes the fear. Heaven is not guessing when it comes to your journey. Heaven has already written the blueprints. Heaven has already dispatched help. Heaven has already set appointments you don't know about yet. What's planted in you didn't come from this world, and it will not be sustained by this world either. God started this in you. He initiated the assignment. He gave you the vision, the burden, the message, the fire. And because he started it, he's committed to seeing it through. He's not a God who leaves things unfinished. He funds what he authors. He covers what he calls. He sends what you need. Not when it's comfortable, but when it's strategic. That's why it's been delayed. That's why certain people had to fall away. That's why the old ways of getting by stopped working. God is aligning everything to come through his system, not the world's. Chapter 3. You're being funded by invisible accounts. Chosen one, this is the part that will confuse people the most. Because from the outside looking in, your life won't make sense. The way you're rising, the way you're sustaining, the way you're building with little to no visible support. It's going to leave people speechless. They'll try to calculate it, explain it, trace it back to a source they understand, but they won't be able to. Because the truth is, you are being funded by invisible accounts. This is not about money alone. This is about spiritual provision, supernatural supply, divine support that flows from realms they can't see. You're not being sustained by your salary. You're not relying on a paycheck. You're not waiting for a sponsor, a platform, or a crowd. You're moving according to something far more powerful. Your belief. You're not operating by the numbers in your account. You're operating by the words spoken over your life. You're not being driven by fear of lack. You're being led by the abundance of faith. That's why you're not panicking like others. That's why you're still moving, even when the resources don't seem to match the vision. Because you're not moving by sight. You're walking in prophecy. Every single act of obedience activates something in the unseen. Every time you trust God when it doesn't make sense. Every time you move forward even when you feel unqualified or under-resourced, you're making a withdrawal from heaven's account. God has set up spiritual vaults with your name on them. Accounts filled with provision. Accounts loaded with breakthrough. Accounts overflowing with divine connections, favor, clarity, and unexpected release. But here's the key. They're accessed by faith, not fear. They respond to movement, not worry. You don't unlock them by complaining. You unlock them by believing. These invisible accounts are motion activated. When you walk by faith, heaven opens. When you speak life, resources are released. When you refuse to compromise, God funds your integrity. To those watching, it won't add up. They'll say, how are they living like that? How are they traveling? How did they build that without support? How are they maintaining peace in the middle of pressure? They'll assume you have help from some secret source, and you do. It's just not from this world. What they don't know is that you've been sowing in silence. You've been giving when it hurt. You've been fasting, praying, serving, and sacrificing without fanfare. You've been storing treasure in a realm that's invisible to the human eye. And now, you're living off divine returns. You're reaping from a realm that they can't track. Your account in heaven has been active for years. Now, it's starting to manifest on earth. This is the mystery of being chosen. The world looks at your outer life, but they don't understand your inner alignment. They see your elevation, but they don't know about your private obedience. They see results, but they didn't witness the tears. They don't realize that what's sustaining you isn't visible. It's spiritual. Chosen one, don't be surprised when God funds you from places that don't make sense. Don't be alarmed when the help comes from someone you've never met. Don't second-guess the divine assistance that arrives right on time, because these are withdrawals from your invisible accounts, proof that heaven keeps accurate records, even when earth seems silent. This is why your cup keeps refilling. This is why things keep aligning out of nowhere. This is why you keep advancing with no obvious explanation. Chapter 4. Your favor is making room where finances couldn't. Chosen one, you've stepped into a rare and sacred season. A season where the doors opening for you are not the result of wealth, status, or connections, but the direct result of favor. This kind of favor cannot be earned. It cannot be bought. It is not a reward for good behavior or hard work. It is a divine endorsement from heaven that bypasses natural systems and qualifies you for things that money never could. This is the type of favor that confuses logic, the kind that causes people to say, "I don't know why, but something told me to help you." It's the kind that moves your name to the top of a list you didn't apply for. It's the reason you're being called into rooms you couldn't afford to enter. It's why people with more money, more experience, and more credentials are watching you step into positions they couldn't reach. God is placing you in environments that were once off limits. He's giving you access to circles that were never designed for your background. He's making people notice you who don't even understand why they're drawn to you. And here's the truth. It's not you they're attracted to. It's the favor on your life. Favor is not visible to the eye, but it speaks louder than money ever could. It is spiritual credibility. It is divine recognition. It is heaven saying, "This one carries my stamp." This is how God funds his chosen. Not only through money, but through movement. Not only through provision, but through positioning. You are being elevated, not just in the material, but in influence, in visibility, in divine reach. Where money would have stopped at the front gate, favor walks you into the boardroom. Where finances would have fallen short, favor takes you all the way in and seats you at the table. Chosen one, you are living proof that access doesn't always come through a bank account. You are proof that grace opens doors when credentials run out. You are proof that favor can't be faked and it can't be blocked. They may not understand why doors open for you. They may question why people are going out of their way to help you. They may talk behind your back, assuming there's some natural explanation. But the truth is, it's divine. You are being carried by something they can't see, and they can't stop. Your favor is doing what money never could. It's making a way in dry places. It's drawing opportunities out of thin air. It's reshaping the path before you arrive. Sometimes you'll be invited simply because someone felt they needed you in the room. Sometimes a heart will be stirred to bless you, and they won't know why. Sometimes the gatekeepers who used to say no will suddenly say yes and won't know what changed. It's not charm. It's not marketing. It's not manipulation. It's the fingerprint of God on your life. It's divine favor, strategically assigned to your name. And here's the most powerful part. God is using your favor to expose you to things your finances could never afford, because he wants you to see that your future will not be built on money, but on his movement. He wants you to know that your source is not the system, it's the spirit. He wants you to understand that what's happening in your life right now has absolutely nothing to do with your bank account and everything to do with your assignment. Chapter 5. God is using unexpected sources to sustain you. Chosen one. This is where your journey will completely baffle the world. This is the part where people will look at your life, your survival, and your sudden increase and say, "That doesn't make sense." And they'll be right, because what God is doing in your life right now is not logical, it's supernatural, and He's intentionally using unexpected sources to sustain you. You're not being helped in the way people thought you would be. You're not being funded by the job they expected you to cling to. You're not being lifted by the system they assumed would be your only route. You're not being carried by the people who promised to support you. Instead, God is doing something completely out of the ordinary. He's using strangers. He's using people who owe you nothing. People who never met you in person. People who don't even know why they're drawn to bless you. He's using divine instructions whispered in the hearts of people you never even knew existed. They don't know your full story, but they feel your spirit. And that's enough for God to use them. You've entered a season where your help is coming from divinely appointed sources, not human expectations. These are not favors you begged for. These are not connections you worked for. These are not rewards from the systems of man. These are the assignments of heaven. Just like the ravens fed Elijah in the wilderness, when there was no grocery store, no kitchen, no harvest, God used the unclean, the unlikely, the impossible to deliver provision right on time. Just like the widow who had nothing left but flour and oil, yet was commanded by God to sustain the prophet through a famine. Just like the fish that carried the exact amount of money needed to pay the temple tax, caught at the exact moment Jesus instructed. God is using the strange to support the sacred. He is using the unexpected to confirm that you are walking in an anointing that cannot be explained by natural law. Chosen one, you may not see where it's coming from, but it is coming. It may not look like how you imagined, but it will be exactly what you need, because God's provision is not limited by your plans. It's not restricted by your qualifications. It's not delayed by your lack of resources. God doesn't need traditional channels to bless you. He doesn't need a job title to provide for you. He doesn't need family approval to elevate you. He doesn't need institutional validation to favor you. What he needs is your obedience and your trust, nothing more. And when the help comes, don't question it. Don't resist it. Don't reject it because it feels unfamiliar. That stranger who offers to cover your bill, that unexpected DM from someone who wants to sow into your vision, that random business opportunity that aligns with your gift perfectly, that sudden phone call, divine idea, or open door that wasn't even on your radar. That's not random. That's God. That's supernatural strategy. That's divine funding from unexpected sources. And he's doing it this way on purpose, so no man can take credit, so no one can say you made it because of them, so nobody can manipulate your destiny with a fake sense of entitlement. So it will be absolutely clear. This was God's doing, and God alone. He's removing the familiar so you can depend on the divine. He's bypassing the gatekeepers because the gate wasn't built for your kind of calling. He's sending your help in a way that glorifies him, not man. Chapter 6. You're a walking testimony of supernatural supply. Chosen one, whether you realize it or not, your life is becoming a public declaration of what happens when someone truly walks by faith. You're not just living day to day, you're becoming a walking testimony of supernatural supply. Your very existence is beginning to preach a sermon louder than words, and the world is watching. People who knew you before are quietly observing. They remember what you walked away from. They saw you when you were at your lowest. They witnessed the seasons where you lost everything. They remember when it looked like you wouldn't recover, financially, emotionally, or spiritually. And yet, here you are, still standing, still rising, still progressing. You're not just surviving, you're building. You're not just getting by, you're growing. And it doesn't make sense to them. They know what you went through. They know what you walked away from. They know what was stacked against you. And that's why they're confused, because the results don't match the resources they thought you had. But that's exactly the point. Your life isn't being powered by human effort. It's not being sustained by natural systems. It's being funded by heaven. Everything you have, everything you've gained, every new door that's opened, every unexpected opportunity that showed up right on time, it's all evidence. Evidence that God is not just a provider in theory, but in practice. Evidence that when you obey His voice, He supplies what's needed. Evidence that when you walk away from the familiar and trust Him with everything, He responds with everything you didn't know you needed. Every single breakthrough is a receipt, a divine signature stamped across your journey that says, "This is my doing." Every time you receive what you didn't apply for, every time your needs are met with no explanation, every time you're sustained in a season where you should have collapsed, that's supernatural supply. Your life is now preaching to people who don't even believe in God, because they can't deny the results. They see the glow, they see the progress, they feel the presence you carry, and they're starting to realize there's something bigger guiding you. You've become a prophetic signpost, proof that God funds His assignments, proof that when man pulls back, heaven steps in, proof that divine flow doesn't rely on man-made logic. Chosen one, you are the answer to someone's silent question. Can God really provide if I step out on faith? You're the confirmation that they don't have to have it all figured out before they move. You're the reminder that obedience is the strategy, and that trust is the currency. People will start to say, "How are they doing it? How did they come back from that? Where is this help coming from?" And the answer will always be the same. It's not you. It's not a secret sponsor. It's not a hidden bank account. It's God. Chapter 7. This next season will make the world wonder and worship. Get ready, chosen one. The season you're walking into isn't just about breakthrough. It's about visible confirmation. This is where God makes a public statement with your life. It will look like acceleration. Things will happen faster than your credentials can explain. Doors will open that you didn't knock on. Provision will meet you before you even ask. People will look at you and be confused. They'll remember where you came from, what you lost, and how unlikely your rise was. And yet, you'll be rising, thriving, building, not by force, but by favor. They'll say, "How did this happen?" You'll say, "God did it." They'll ask, "Who's backing you?" You'll answer, "Heaven funded it." You're not just being elevated, you're becoming a sign that obedience still brings overflow, a sign that God still funds what He starts, a sign that walking by faith still works, even when the world doesn't understand it. This next season won't be about what you can explain. It'll be about what only God could have done. Your resume won't line up. Your network won't match the blessing, but the fruit will be undeniable. So walk boldly, stay surrendered, because God isn't just blessing you to comfort you, He's blessing you to confirm you. You are living proof that heaven has always been your source, and this next move will make the world wonder, and some of them will begin to worship, not because of you, but because your life will reveal him.